But let's move on to Pat Coogan's pod. Pat Coogan's podcast. They asked Coogan
Coogan said. There we go.
They asked Coogan how comfortable he was
yeah.
playing center. And he said like he literally played center for 2 years, played guard for 1 year, was back at center last year. He's very comfortable playing center. He said he likes it because he has command. He's very trusted. He's in a leadership position and he likes to communicate. They asked him why Indiana, and this was the quote that was circulating at the back end of last week. But he said it was an unbelievable opportunity. The program's created remarkable momentum. And then he just talked about the guys in the locker room, echoing kind of what Mikhail Kamara was saying about their just the family-oriented vibes and just the way they bring people in. Like this is a fun locker room to come into. And they're very particular about the guys they bring in. They protect that culture. And it's very much so on purpose. But Coogan's a guy who's like, bring that guy in with open arms. But there are people like players, I'm sure they brought in on visits that like they probably realized didn't mesh with the culture. So it is super important. So to hear again Coogan talk about the culture, and it's funny, Coogan, somebody from a Notre Dame background, after a lot of the things the Notre Dame fans were saying about Cignetti and the quote unquote lack of culture in the Indiana program, to hear how good the culture is in the program, specifically from a guy like Pat Coogan, 3-4 months after that game is just like, again, a ringing endorsement of what they're building here.
All right, I have a few things from that. First off, it's pretty cool that, you don't hear that too often, like a guy alluding that they probably brought some high profile guys on visits, and
he didn't allude that.
Okay.
That was me. Sorry. Okay. I apologize if that was Pat Coogan did not allude that. That was not a part of the presser.
Okay. All right, that kind of throws off my second point too. A little bit. But
okay, I'm glad you said that though, because if I don't want to put words in his mouth. No, that was not what he said. That was my take on the culture.
Coogan's, but yeah, a guy coming from outside the program. A guy. Wait, who was saying that we had culture issues? Like you were saying.
There was. I mean, it was in Notre Dame Barbs, and honestly, I can't remember the guy's name.
Okay, so it's just like a Notre Dame guy just shutting the snobs up north up basically about it. Yeah, I mean he has everything. I mean he played center for them all the way to the national title game and they didn't bring him back. He should have a big chip on his shoulder.
The Pat Coogan comment about the culture and then me going on a separate like FU Twitter haters for saying there is no culture was different. Like Pat Coogan.
Yeah, I'm not saying Pat Coogan. Yeah, I know. I'm doing my own own thing. I'm doing my own. I'm putting words in his mouth now. Like Pat Coogan should have a chip on his shoulder about Notre Dame because he was the center, brought them to a national title for the first time since Manti Te'o. And what do? They're like, oh yeah, the guy who you replaced, like he's still better than you, so you can go kick rocks or be a backup. And so he went to a playoff contender. Very smart move by him. He's gonna have I'm pumped for him. I think you're gonna talk about it soon about him commanding the offense, and that's something that I started this show by saying, because last show I was like, I don't want any of the transfers taking pressers. I'll make exceptions for the quarterback and the guy who I think is going to be the captain of this offense, which is Pat Coogan. Period. I think those are probably the two obviously the quarterback's the captain, but like Pat Coogan's center, like he's got to be a vocal leader. We know he's a vocal leader. We've all seen the clips of him hyping up the O-line going into the playoff games. I mean, dude's walks the walk, talks the talk. It's a guy that you can rally around and get them psyched up before a game, and excited to see what that kind of impact has, especially on game day, where it's not really like it was an issue where our offensive line came out flat, but if they can come out and punch you in the mouth, like at a different level than they were last year, like that's just one extra boost is really all this team really, because it felt like they were just so close, but yet so far, and any little edge that they can get is going to go a long way as they try to accomplish their goals of a national title. I feel like it's been mentioned by guys that's their goal this year.
Oh, they are not shying away from it. It has been mentioned multiple times. But they asked Coogan in getting into the kind of that leadership role and kind of the challenges that he faces. They asked about his relationship with Bob Bostad. He said it's great. He said Coach Bostad expects a lot from his centers. They asked him about the challenges of being new to the team but expecting to lead. Um, and he said it was a little awkward because he came in on week 4 of the offseason, but it's just like it's a challenge he wants. He's excited. Like he's a very personable person when you listen to him speak. Like it can't be difficult for that guy to make friends with the way he competes on the football field, his pedigree coming in, and then obviously when you get the okay and you get the yes from Signetti and co, like that's a cosign to the rest of the guys in the locker room that you're a high character guy. So very easy for somebody to come in and it's like, okay, maybe you have to again learn tendencies and habits and like who people are, but you kind of have an understanding of who he is as a worker and as a football player, and that kind of makes it a little easier, definitely for him. So he said like it's just he said a bunch of things, but my just kind of takeaway from it, but he's just like a naturally like a great dude. Like he just seems like a really again another one who's just like a really genuine, says what he means what he says, like do the right thing type of person that just they seem to just be stacking in this locker room.
Yeah, I mean, Signetti has a type. It feels like all these guys say the same things and they walk the same way and they approach and they all love football and they're like really kind of they're just like I mean, that's he has a type. They're all just like Signetti, just maniacs, like just chewing off their own, like grinding their own teeth up 60, like type guys. Like they're all like that. It's not about the score. It's about did I win my individual matchup on that play, one play at a time, fast, physical, relentless. Boy,
Smart, disciplined boys.
Smart, disciplined boys. Like, did I do that every play? Like, it's literally it all goes back to that one little statement in that what's his name? Adam Brenneman podcast where he just went through the whole like philosophy real quick. It's that whole it always falls back to that. Like that's how all these guys are. And that's how
6
they're
seconds
wired.
of play.
Especially going year 2 jump, expect us. I mean, every single guy on the roster is like that. It wasn't like that last year. And they still went 11-2 all the way to the playoff and was a big part of the national conversation for a bulk of the year.
Yep. They asked Coogan about playing that Indiana team last year, and he said they were really good. He said they had to he said game planning for them actually helped him in his prep for being able to understand who his new teammates were going to be and how to fit in and fit along with the team, which I thought was pretty interesting. But again, it said coach change is great and like it was a huge challenge. He said every time somebody sees CJ West in the building, he gets messed with because that was his matchup.
That's funny.
But they also asked him like from afar, why do you believe like from afar now coming into and being in the building for a little bit, like why do you believe Indiana has been so successful? And he said because it's player led. Guys like Fisher, guys like McHale, guys like Carter, guys like Bray, which I thought cool to see Bray Lynch's name pop up here too, in terms of that like that.
I'm
Who are
guy.
who are the leaders in this locker room? But it's just like when you have again the guys like Fish and the guys like McHale, it's like you don't need Coach Sig around all the time, like cracking a whip. Like this is not how you have a successful program. And like Pond said this, I believe, in his Hoosiers Connect interview. But it's like Sig doesn't talk much. So when he speaks to the team, like you have to listen and it's meaningful. So a lot of the upholding the standard and what we hear like from the coaches, that's being upheld by the players. And like that's like ultimately why this team is able to be so successful because you don't need to helicopter them. They're doing the right things.
Yeah, it reminds me of I hate referencing BMS, but like there is some like truth to it in terms of like
you
how
do it. This is the third show in a row with a Blue Mountain State reference. I'm like, I gotta go watch the show again because I forget all of them.
Well, it's like when Marty Daniels like grabs Thad Castle by the jersey and is like, "You're my captain, get this fixed." It's like he doesn't even really have to say that too often. I mean, but if it ever goes haywire one day, like that's basically all he's gonna have to grab Mario Landino next year and be, be like, you're my captain, get this fixed, and then it's gonna get fixed. And it's a very common thing in coaches when they talk about who the best teams are. It's always player-led teams. It's always what they go to. It's the first thing they say. Guys that it's player-led teams with good X's and O's coaches. That's really all it is. It's not, at the end of the day, it's really not on the coach to set the culture. It really comes down to the player. Obviously, if the coach isn't doing it, it is ultimately his fault and he will get the can.
It's
but it really
down,
comes down to, like, will the players do that? Like, is he getting guys that will buy into his philosophy? Like, it just comes down to that. Like, it really is. It always will and always has been up to the players, like how good they want to be. Like the idea that, like, universities develop, guys for 3 years and then they go into the portal and go to a blue blood. Like, no, you didn't develop them. That player decided to become the best player in the country. Just happened to use his coaching and facility resources at your school. It's not you guys pumped this guy out. Like, he became one of the best players, but it was his choice. He did the work.
This feels very Donovan Dent, UCLA.
No, not at all. No. It's happened a lot in the transfer portal.
No, I actually I full blown
thing.
I full blown agree with you. Full blown agree with the sentiment. But back to Coogan real quick.
It was low key about Donovan Dent, but we don't.
I know. But closing up on Coogan, he said on Mendoza was the first guy he met. Said the dude's been blowing up his phone, trying to get him to come. So it's obviously you want your quarterback being the guy out there banging the drum, and so to hear that he was so aggressive and going after a guy they very clearly needed, obviously huge plus. This was actually my favorite part of Coogan's interview. They asked him what he learned from Notre Dame. You know what he said?
No, I don't. I'm not even going to guess. I have no idea. What, nothing? He learned nothing from Notre Dame? That's not even right. There's no way that's the right answer.
He said the virtue of gratitude.
Yeah, no, they had that prayer like group on their team, and I think that really like brought them really close together. I think it was low key a big reason why, like, they had like 60 guys going to like Bible study. And that just that type of stuff, like, obviously I think that probably was a big part of like their culture, and just like obviously that's a part of it, but then like the gratitude stuff like that, like just appreciating your teammates, appreciating that you're able to do this, that type of stuff, and just knowing that going into each day, and not like if one day goes bad, like you're able to just bounce back. Like, hey, like I'm at the end of the day, I'm playing center in Indiana. Like, this is awesome. Like, I'm going 98 yards with my boys. It's one of those.
I was not expecting that answer from, like, because like obviously if you want to just like full blown like back up on Pat Coogan, like the type of person and kid you have to be to get recruited to go to Notre Dame in the first place, and then to stick in the program as long as he did, like they have a culture and a standard too there. So it's like, the type of person Pat Coogan is, but I was not expecting that answer from the center of the football team. So I thought that was a really cool, really like thoughtful, really mature answer. And then to your point about like getting to play and like having that appreciation, like they asked him, like, is it a challenge because you literally just played in the national championship game, you're back in spring ball, like, is it a challenge to stay healthy? And he's like, it is a challenge that I happily accept. He said, I get to play football. He's like, I love doing this. He's like, so like, I'm doing the things I have to do. He's like, I'm eating well. I do aftercare. Like, and so I can play the game. So it's like, yeah, it is a challenge. And it's one that like everybody is dealing with too. It's like one I accept. Like you
got like 8 weeks off. Like, he's probably fine unless he had like a significant injury. Like, all the bumps and bruises go away after like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like, you're fine.
Yeah. How much Power 5 football did you play, Brad?
Obviously they build up and there's going to be lingering stuff, but for the most part, he's 100% is my point. Yes, there's wear and tear with football players. Yes. but he's probably feeling great. He's probably feeling 100%. So, obviously it is difficult, like you said, and I'm kind of speaking my on my butt, but yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of off rest. Obviously, like there is something to be said about like the fact that the championship is on January 15th, and then they start spring ball like March 15th, or like something like that.
It's
Like,
kind of crazy.
yeah, it's pretty nuts, and it's officially a full-time job, which is kind of where NIL comes into play. And it's yeah, I mean they're giving out money as players should be paid. So yeah, happy he's doing it.
Well, I mean, players should probably be employees, but that's a whole different argument. We're not going to get into right now.
We're not getting into that.
I'm not having. I'm
Right
not. I don't.
now.
I'm not getting into